Chapter 3. A Pale Morning. G. Ghalen watched as they moved his collapsed savior to rest against a fallen tree. He was ashen and frail, but alive, looking at her, unsure if he felt gratitude or worry. His subjects encircled him, their whispers echoing through the night. Pyor had his hand on her forehead.
Her skin is pale and feverish. I think she's getting worse.
With a wave of his hand, Ghalen beckoned a young squire to him.
Leor, fetch me the priestess Finavera,
he said.
She tends to the wounded near the east tents. Our healing methods might not be as spectacular, but we must help the one who saved me.
As Leor scampered off, silence fell on the camp. Eyes flickered between the king and the unconscious elf. The night was full of questions, and Ghalen had answers to none of them. With the morning sun's rays piercing the canopy above, the camp roused from its uneasy slumber as the frost was chased away. Ghalen slowly regained his vigor, but he could not take his eyes off the elf. His men, hovering around him, engaged in quiet chatter that formed a jarring symphony in the fresh morning air. They seemed caught between relief at their king's survival and fear of the elf's unmatched magic. Not even the full council of the temple could achieve such a feat, one soldier said, staring at her. Don't know what to make of this. Is she our prisoner or our savior? Another added, shaking his head. The priestess arrived and approached the elf. Finavera's copper-brown skin contrasted with the teal robes of Iranian design that draped her small frame. Curls of jet-black hair peeked from behind her hood, and her blue eyes pierced the dimness. She knelt beside the elf, then glanced over at Ghalen with an intense, worried stare. Are you all right, Ghalen? I should... Ghalen cut her off with a raised hand.
I'm fine, priestess. Somehow. Now please, do what you can for her.
He didn't meet her gaze. The formality in his tone tasted bitter. But with soldiers all around and so much left unspoken, it was all he could give her. The priestess muttered something as she turned back to the elf and began her work, her fingers moving deftly as she assessed the elf's condition. She murmured an incantation that seemed to have no effect. Shaking her head, she whispered something and restored to more traditional methods. With herbs burnt and ointments applied, she finally looked up, meeting his gaze. Ghalen, she began, her voice heavy with concern. She is stable now, but she'll need much rest. I've never seen anything like this before. As she worked, talk spread through the crowd of onlookers, tales of witchcraft and dark magic blending with the cool morning breeze. Finavera sighed and gave a wry smile. It really is amusing that your soldiers would mistake herbology for sorcery. Whatever do they teach them at the academy, Ghalen? She raised her eyebrows, teasingly towards him. Pyor was standing next to her.
You know they mean no harm, Fina. My people have not had as much exposure to Lumiere.
He was cut off by the elf's cough. We'll let her rest now, Finavera said, getting up to leave. The camp shifted back to some semblance of normalcy. The soldiers nursed wounds and cleaned weapons, with Finavera helping where needed, while the cooks prepared a meager breakfast with the scarce provisions. But the troops seemed on edge. There were whispers and furtive glances toward the sleeping elf. Pyor and Haldor, their faces etched with shame and desperation, approached Ghalen. One knee scraping the dirt, Pyor rasped,
Your Majesty, forgive us. We have failed to keep you safe.
Haldor echoed the sentiment, his voice thick with remorse.
We should have done more.
Ghalen scoffed and furrowed his brows.
I asked you to keep her safe.
He looked up at her resting.
She was well protected.
A smile on his lips.
Had you not done so, perhaps we would not have this conversation.
Near midday, the elf opened her eyes and Ghalen got up to talk to her. Her lashes fluttered, revealing a pair of green eyes holding a glimmer of confusion. She looked around, eyes wide, but as she saw Ghalen walking towards her, she relaxed. He approached with caution.
You saved my life.
His voice came out raspy, but he tried not to sound unkind. He studied her, searching for a hint of the enemy they had captured. All he saw was someone lost and confused.
You have no business looking so frail with the power of the gods in your hands.
With an earnest nod, he extended his hand.
We owe you a debt of gratitude. I know you just woke up, but I must know. Did any of your memories return?
Her eyes sank to the ground. Sorry, there is nothing.
I see. That's a shame. The gate is about a week's march from here. Perhaps there we might find some answers for both of us.
She grasped his hand, and he escorted her back to the carriage she had previously ridden in. This time, he did not bind her. Before the convoy set off, Finavera weaved through the crowd, her gaze fixed on Ghalen. Let me ride with her. I need to know her secrets. Ghalen raised his brow at her.
Etiquette, Fina. Etiquette.
Luckily, he did not need to remind her. She cleared her throat. Forgive me. Would you permit me to ride with her, my liege? I think it could benefit our cause.
Very well, priestess.
Ghalen watched her climb into the wagon. She positioned herself opposite the elf, the priestess' eyes studying her with intensity. The elf seemed unsettled by Finavera's gaze, eyes sharp and fixed like a hungry dog watching a sausage. I saw you on a horse earlier, the elf rasped. Did it not survive the night, my lady? Finavera chuckled. Tapler's fine. I left him with the others. She crouched beside the elf, her tone gentler now. I thought you might need some help. Her smile flickered with something unreadable. Truth is, I wanted to ask you about the magic you used on the king. I've studied healing my whole life, and I've never seen anything like that. I'm Finavera Maldiv, priestess of Lumar. Some even call me the finest healer on the Isle. She hesitated, voice softening. But what you did, it was something else. Will you teach me? She paused, then added, almost grudgingly, Please. Pior, driving the cart, shot a glance back at the two, grinning. The elf looked at him pleadingly. He just gave a wry laugh and said,
God help you now, mistress. You are at the mercy of the temple.
Ghalen climbed into the wagon beside Pior.
No need to fear. The priestess doesn't bite,
he said with a faint smile. Is that so? A playful voice chimed behind him, Finavera. Ghalen stiffened, regretting his choice of words. His gaze flickered to the others, but no one seemed to notice, or if they did, they said nothing. Heat crept into his cheeks, but he shook it off. He decided he ought to say something before they set off. It's what his father would have done, or at least he thought so. Ghalen straightened and raised his voice so all could hear.
Brace yourselves. The road ahead will be unforgiving. Ilskar is a harsh land, even without the shadow of war.
His warning proved true before the day was done. The great merchant road, once a proud passage for armies and trade, lay ravaged, cracked, hollowed, and brittle beneath their feet. Spring had not yet turned into summer, leading to mornings and evenings with a biting cold that struck right through their cloaks. Though they had entered lands under his kingdom's control, they were still too close to the front lines for civilians to live there. The remnants of war lingered, leaving a desolate landscape devoid of provisions and proper shelter. This land, do people really live here? The elf asked, through rattling teeth as the horses pulled the wagon in muddy tracks.
Yes,
Ghalen said, pulling his cloak tighter against the wind.
Though the wind never leaves you alone out here. Farming's hard, and the rain doesn't come often.
He squinted at the horizon, where the land blurred into the sky.
Hard to imagine how they kept a whole kingdom going before our alliance. Still feels like a mystery.
Dead trees lined the road, outnumbering the living. Ghalen couldn't tell if it had always looked this barren, or if childhood had made it seem brighter. Ghalen halted the procession to rest the horses and take shelter from the worst of the wind. While the others set up a small camp, Finavera sat down beside the elf, splitting a bitter root and handing her pieces. He could hear the elf's stomach growling even from where he sat. The once proud army had become a ragged band, surviving on what meager scraps they could find. The two women huddled at the edge of the camp. While the others still eyed the elf with suspicion, Finavera seemed determined to bridge the gap between them. In the last few days, she had taken on the role of caretaker, even after learning that elf could share nothing of her knowledge. The memory loss seemed to extend even to how she had healed him, claiming it had been instinct. Fina's compassion unsettled him. He didn't remember her being so gentle in their youth. Maybe the war had changed her. It had certainly changed him, but he wasn't sure he liked this version of her. Back then, being one of the few who had seen beneath her cold, calculating exterior had felt like a privilege. Now, that version of her was slipping away. L. Running between hollow trees, she followed Finavera, Pior, and Haldor. This would be the last foraging before the band continued on the road. She stopped at a rock with moss forming beneath it. This feels right. She began digging in the moss, revealing mushrooms underneath. How do you do that? Finavera asked from behind, panting, her head tilting in question. I don't know, priestess. Just a feeling. Finavera smiled warmly, shaking her head. Marvelous. And you can call me Fina. That's what my friends do. Friends. The elf paused, her hands hovering over the earthy moss. She had heard Pior and Haldor use the name in quiet moments, and unless she had imagined it, perhaps even Ghalen had spoken it softly. Initially, the elf had been wary of Finavera, uncertain of the priestess' true intentions. Yet now, knowing that Finavera had healed her and had unknowingly snatched her from the cold chains of slavery bound by that foul death magic, everything had changed. Each glance at the priestess brought warmth to her chest, gratitude burning brighter each day. It was strange to feel so deeply indebted, so utterly safe in someone's presence. She was on the verge of pledging her life in repayment. Perhaps friendship was the first step. The air was rich with the scent of earth and the subtle tang of herbs as the priestess knelt beside her, pointing to a cluster of green, her voice a soft murmur. This one, she said, touching a leaf with reverence, can help with a sore throat if boiled in hot water. Better than any medicine you'd find in the king's court. From a short distance, Pior and Haldor observed.
If people knew plants had so many uses, they'd feel guilty when time comes to shear the grass at their farms.
Pior said as he approached them with a glint in his eye. Perhaps your time at the academy could be better spent learning less swordsmanship and a little bit more about surviving without a full belly. Fina retorted with an arched brow. Pior scoffed.
They do teach us how to hunt. Don't trust everything Fina says, mistress.
Only for Haldor to interject with a wry tone.
Much good that does us when the critters have long since fled these lands.
We can't keep calling her elf or mistress, Fina said. Nobles in the capital get prickly about titles. Real mistresses can be quite particular, you know. She glanced at the others. Maybe it's time for a proper name, lads? Haldor suggested.
Finder.
Only to receive a disapproving glance from Fina. Then, Pior added.
How about Lily? Like her golden jewel.
Fina flashed a wide smile at the suggestion. What do you say? Does Lily sound okay? The elf looked at them, mulling it over in her head. Perhaps she could suggest Rose from her vague memory. But no, she did not feel like sharing that yet. I like it. She smiled as she continued plucking some berries. For some reason, she felt more at home now. As they walked back from the forest with their haul, Lily thought she could see a pattern in the road. She squinted at it. Is that a road, Pior? Pior's eyes lit up.
Aye, that's what's left of the great merchant road, used to connect all 4 kingdoms of the Isle.
Lily glanced around at the rubble. Must have been quite something before the war. Pior nodded, a touch of pride in his voice, as if he had paved it himself.
It sure was. You could travel from one end to the other without a hitch.
But the road had been ravaged, something Lily considered a pity now that she was getting back in the wagon and the horses continued over the harsh terrain. Jagged cobblestones, once meticulously laid, now jutted at the treacherous angles, their smooth surfaces scarred by years of war. Weeds and wild grasses sprouted from cracks, their roots prying the stones further apart. Sections of the road had vanished, leaving behind gaping chasms that threatened to swallow cartwheels whole. Carriages, burdened by the weight of weary soldiers and meager supplies, frequently gave way to the strain. They groaned and creaked, their wheels sinking into muddy tracks or struggled to ascend steep, unforgiving hills. We're stuck! Help push! A voice called up ahead. The company dismounted horses and wagons. This was the second time within the hour. They were pushing their tired bodies to the brink. They had to join forces to push the carriages past these obstacles. Both Lily and Fina tried to help, but Pyre intercepted them, breaking into a warm, dismissive smile.
King's orders,
He insisted, steering them away from the toiling group and back to the side. His muscles bulged as he set the cart in motion again. It seemed his strength alone matched that of 4 soldiers pushing combined. Fina scoffed, eyes shining with affection. That oaf. He's too kind, she sighed. Too kind? Lily gave her a puzzled look. Ghalen would never ask us to sit back. Not here. He'd want us to work together. But Pyre, he'd rather wear himself to death than burden others. Truly, the kindest soul on the Isle. Lily raised an eyebrow. The Isle? I've heard others mention that before. We've traveled so far and seen little water. Are we really on an island? Fina's eyes widened at first. Then she gave a wry laugh. It's easy to be confused. The island is our continent, a shorthand for Island of the Sun. Locals just call it the Isle, which can puzzle outsiders. It would take a quick ride or weeks to ride across. She looked over the fields towards the mountains. It's always been its name. I guess we never really think about it. Getting the horses moving again took longer than expected. The wheels had sunk deep, and by the time they crested the hill which had trapped them, the sun had already dipped beneath it, leaving long shadows stretched across the road. Lily watched the last sliver of light vanish behind them. Ghalen ordered them to make camp at the hill's base, their movements slowed by fatigue, their voices quieter now. Lily paused while unrolling her bedding, her eyes drawn to the ridge above them. Is that light? She murmured. Faint flickers shimmered at the summit, pale and uncertain.
That's Breakword, a small village.
Ghalen said from behind her, following her gaze.
Most would consider it madness to remain so close to the front lines. But Ilskarians are a hardy lot, aren't they, Pyre? Aye,
Pyre said.
The crops may wither, enemies might come, and wildlife could desert these parts, but my people, they endure, as they have for 1,000 years.
Shaking off his pride, he returned to his characteristic warm smile. Why don't we set up camp there? Lily asked, pointing towards the village.
Breakword is too small to house us all, and Ilskarians are too hospitable, so they would try. We have lookouts on the heights, so we will be safe down here. If you allow it, I could introduce her to them,
Pyre said with a pleading look.
Who knows? Some shelter from the wind might help her memories.
Ghalen gave Pyre a skeptical frown, which he then turned to Lily.
Very well. Bring Haldor, a few guards, and Finavera with you. She must be protected, and Fina's healing may be of use to the villagers. They've surely suffered in the war, and the temple has not had pilgrimage of healers since it began.
Pyre bowed and assembled the chosen companions. Together, they ascended the hill, battling against the biting winds. The evening chill was settling in, turning the muddy paths to frost. Every breath Lily took became more difficult. The village lacked any visible guards. It was a humble settlement with no more than 6 houses, all in ragged conditions, accompanied by a lone stable. Pyre led the group to the grandest of the houses, which he identified as the common hall. He rapped on the door thrice and declared,
Harsh is the wind. Pyre Orlik from the Reach, seek shelter.
A brief silence ensued, broken by a muffled voice from within. And Wyrick from Breakword grants it. The door swung open, revealing a towering man whose stature rivaled Pyre's. The man presented his hand to Pyre, their fists clasped, nearly pulling each other off balance. Lily thought the force between them was so intense their arms might snap from the tension. After a mutual nod, they released their grip. Haldor also familiarly greeted Yrek. With formal introductions, Pyre presented the rest of their party. Each received a courteous nod as they stepped inside. The interior was warmed by a large hearth, around which sat 6 individuals, 3 men and 3 women. To Lily's astonishment, the women were nearly as tall and muscular as the men. These Breakword villagers made Ghalen and Haldor seem almost boyish. Lily was introduced to the villagers huddled around the fire. Their accents, even more pronounced than Pyre's, had Fina politely asked them to repeat words more than once. Fina carried herself with an air of majesty, very different from how she acted in private, and the villagers responded with reverence. "A blessing to still see you standing, Orlick. Perhaps it is a sign of good harvest," Wyrick remarked, looking Pyre up and down. His gaze shifted toward the window, frowning at the encampment down the slope. "I take it you won the battle at the border, though few have returned." His shoulders slumped.
The victory was costly,
Haldor said, expressionless, warming his hands by the fire.
"We were lucky the doe-skulled behemoth was not with him. I'm not sure we could have killed that monster,"
Pyre added. "I see. Good that. Rumors say that thing took down the Lord Marshal himself. I doubt there is any human left in it. I've seen those corrupted black eyes, if you can call them eyes. I pity the man who must face it. But if anyone must, then I suppose you stand the best chance, Darkstone," Wyrick said while lighting his pipe. Haldor just sighed in reply. Between sips of the tea Wyrick's wife presented to them, the men queried back and forth about the state of the lands. Pyre perked up.
"Which front are you heading to, Yurick? I assume you'll be leading the northern banners?"
"I will lead 4 banners to the capital. We will hear new orders once we arrive. I was hoping you would be leading us finally, Darkstone." Wyrick shot Haldor a questioning glance. Pyre cut in with a laugh.
"Haldor leading? I'd bet on a snowstorm in summer before that happens. How many times has Ghalen asked you to take command now, Haldor?"
Haldor's expression did not change. He looked at Pyre.
My place is protecting the king. I can't do that behind maps and banners. It was enough honor for my father. It will be enough for me.
He took his tea and turned around to speak with the others, dodging any further questions. Lily held the cup of tea she had been given close, feeling the heat seep into her fingers. Around the fire, talk drifted to border movements and ruined towns, strategies and stories. She leaned closer to Fina, voice low. "Fina, what's a doe-skull behemoth?" Fina blinked. "It wasn't always called that. It used to be a man, a giant of one. He led the Elgric into battle when the war first broke. They don't raise their own dead, but being near their magic, it changes them. He's become something else." She stared into the fire. "Now they say there's no human left. Just a thing in a doe's skull, walking like a man. Some who faced it say its eyes are black pits that move." Lily felt a chill crawl across her skin despite the firelight. Wyrick's wife, introduced as Eastrid, stood by the table, kneading bread dough. Lily, so engrossed in her own thoughts, hadn't noticed the woman's steady gaze. "You from well here? Those ears look foreign to these parts," Eastrid said, expertly shaping the dough without taking her eyes off Lily. "What did you say your name was?" "I must have missed it when Wyrick introduced you." Lily felt embarrassed. She'd been quiet behind Fina during introductions. "My name is Lily," she stammered, "and I can't remember where I'm from." Eastrid snorted. "Happens to the best of us. My old Nan couldn't remember how to put on socks in the end." When the men paused their conversation, Eastrid shot Wyrick a pointed look. He muttered, Yes, women," before turning to Fina. "Pardon my intrusion, priestess." He seemed to be focusing all his will on speaking lordly. "We prefer tending to our own and rarely seek help, but Eastrid's father has taken ill. We have neither medicine nor a wise one with herbal knowledge." Turning to face Fina, he bowed deeply. He seemed to teeter between respect for Fina and embarrassment at his awkward bow. "Priestess, would you help him?" Fina bowed slightly and offered a reassuring smile. "Of course, Master Wyrick. Lead the way. I'll do what I can." She turned to Lily. "You are coming with us. You have some connection to the light, and who knows, it might stir a memory." Guided by the soft glow of lantern light, Lily followed as they approached one of the houses. A rasping cough met her ears upon opening the door, followed by a weak voice. "Is that you, Wyrick? I told you to stop wasting food on me. Let me go. There's nothing more to do." Pyre responded with a firm voice.
"A man should meet his end in the fields with a hoe, or in battle with a sword. Did old age make you forget?"
The old man coughed once more, and then recognition dawned in his voice. "Is that young Orlick's voice I hear? Forgive me, son. I'm in no state to greet you properly, lad." Pyor turned to Fina, scratching at his mustache, eyes filled with concern.
Do your best, Fina. This man has given much to these lands. Ulrich Steelgrip deserves more time to care for them.
The men exited the house, leaving only Fina and Lily inside. "Should I leave?" Lily asked hesitantly. "No, you can stay," Fina replied with a gentle smile. "Hold my pouch." She handed Lily a bag with herbs and runes and motioned for her to follow. Kneeling beside the ailing man, Fina studied him, her hands carefully searching the man's body, starting at the forehead, working her way down to his chest, listening to his heartbeat. Though his size rivaled Pyor's, sickness had reduced him to a shrunken form. Hand again resting on his forehead, Fina closed her eyes and spoke softly. "He's burning up. This fever will claim him soon." The room was silent, save for the man's labored breathing. Fina began to chant inaudible words, passing her hand over his face. A gentle warmth spread through the room. Lily closed her eyes, and the warmth deepened. The cabin around her seemed to fall away. She was no longer seated by the hearth, but standing before a grand staircase that led to a temple of some kind, its golden fences gleaming in soft light. Silhouettes in white robes moved up and down the steps, their presence serene. The same radiant warmth coming from Fina pulsed from the top of the stairs, drawing her gaze. Then, with a jolt, she was back. The cabin returned, the man now breathing smoothly, his face calm in sleep. Lily's chest rose and fell rapidly, her own breathing coming in faster, heavier. "The fever has left." Fina sat back, cradling her arm. As she let go, a small cry of pain escaped her lips. Yet she got up and made her way to the door, and just like that, the room felt cold again. Lily shivered and hurried after her. Whatever the image in her mind had been, she did not feel comfortable sharing it. Back in the main hall, Fina shared the encouraging news. "The sickness will not claim his life. He should recover within the week." She looked at Wyrick's wife. "Boil 2 of these leaves daily for him to drink," she instructed, reaching for the pouch Lily held and offering a handful of leaves to Eastrid. "Lumhere's light shines bright in you, priestess, even in the plains," Eastrid remarked, kissing Fina's hands. The group shared some bread with the villagers. As Pyre discussed farming and tending with them, the topic confused Lily, and she could see Fina equally puzzled. Lily leaned over to whisper, "How do they farm this dead land?" Fina whispered back, "I have no idea." As she leaned against the wall, Lily noticed Fina cradling her arm again. Concerned, she asked, "Did you hurt yourself?" "Oh no, don't worry," Fina replied, but she was noticeably in pain. "The power of Lumière's light comes at a cost. It puts strain on the body. The stronger the act, the heavier the toll." She offered a reassuring smile. "What you did for Ghalen's wound in the camp. Had I tried that, it would undoubtedly fracture every bone in my body. And my people are the most resilient of the humans on the Isle when channeling the light." Lily fell silent as she finished her bread. The realization she might have tapped into a power with significant personal cost scared her. Had her instinctual act to heal the king come at a potential expense of her own life? Though the villagers graciously offered them shelter for the night, the group declined. Fina had, with all of her grace, explained that they did not wish to further burden the already strained villagers and would not rest comfortably while their comrades braved the cold outside. Incredible how she can, at a moment's notice, become that high priestess. She is like 2 different people. After heartfelt farewells, they made their way back down the hill. At camp, soldiers shifted as they passed, postures straightening, eyes narrowing. Conversations faltered, then resumed in hushed tones. The warmth of the village already felt distant, like a dream swallowed by the dark. That evening, the fire's glow cast long shadows across the camp. Lily approached slowly, Haldor and Pyre flanking her in quiet support. As they drew near, the low murmur of conversation dipped, and several soldiers turned to eye them with suspicion. At the center of a gathering sat an older man with a beard streaked with gray, his armor worn, but his eyes warm. Terran, they called him. He glanced up just as Lily arrived, the flicker of recognition softening his gaze. "Well, well," he said, voice gravelly but kind. Looks like the fire's drawing all kinds of company tonight. He gestured toward the empty space across from him. Come, sit. No war stories tonight. I was just telling them about my village. Despite the wary glances around her, Lily settled down. Haldor folded his arms and remained standing behind her, while Pyor lounged on a nearby log with a dramatic sigh. Taryn smiled faintly, gazing into the fire. Like I was saying, far south in Arania, in the evenings, the whole village smells of pies baking in wood ovens. My wife's apple pie, especially. The kind that wraps around your heart and tells you you're safe. Lily listened, captivated, the fire crackling softly as if trying to echo the warmth of Taryn's words. Taryn looked around the fire. But I've done enough talking. Haldor, surely a man of your bearing has a tale or two. The camp fell in sudden silence. All eyes turned to Haldor, whose brow twitched faintly. A few chuckled, probably expecting a grunt at best, but to everyone's surprise, Haldor stepped forward.
Always check a sword's balance,
he said, voice low and steady.
Hold it at the cross guard, one finger under the pommel. If it tilts too far forward or back, it's not ready for combat. It should feel like a part of your hand, like it belongs.
He stepped back. The onlookers were divided into two camps, sun silence and muted giggles. Lily blinked. For just a moment, the fire faded, replaced by sunlight glinting off stone. She was standing in a courtyard, a young blonde elf before her, a training blade in hand. His voice echoed in the space between memory and now. Balance is everything. A blade should not lead you. You should lead it. The image flickered, then vanished as the campfire snapped loudly. She was back. Pyor let out a low whistle.
That's the most I've ever heard him say. One could almost mistake it for a story.
Even Taryn was chuckling, his eyes crinkling at the corners. Well said, Haldor. Short, sharp, and useful. That's the kind of tale you don't forget. Lily exhaled slowly, shaken but silent. That memory, was it real? The fire crackled on, drawing warmth from the cold night. Around it, the barrier between strangers thinned, and as the flames danced in her eyes, Lily clung to the image of the courtyard, to the elf's voice, and to the idea that her past might still be waiting to be found.